Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Hop to the Top, the show where I presently go over battle videos that I once went through. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get on with this. We're up against someone whose name I cannot pronounce. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and comment, tell me how I'm doing. Hopefully I'm doing well. Anyway, I currently send out Sableye and Landorus as a lead, whereas my opponent sends out Charizard and Kartana. Now right away, I'm thinking to myself, alright, fake out the Kartana, Rock Slide the Charizard. That's what I believe I do. It's either that or I Will-O-Wisp the Kartana. Either way, I believe I used fake out. I'm really surprised that my opponent did not decide to swap out the Charizard, because that is a very obvious Rock Slide coming out from my end with the Landorus. Anyway, and there's also the fact that it's a Charizard Y, while there's also a Kartana on the field. Kartana is ×4 weak against Fire-type moves, so it's a really questionable decision. Anyway, Rock Slide knocks out Charizard straight up, and that is just and Kartana gets a flinch. So I was just thinking to myself, that was the perfect turn for me. My opponent brings out Tapu Koko, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can't really do anything to the Koko as Landorus is now because Scarf, I'm locked into Rock Slide, so I decided to swap out the Landorus in favor of Celesteela. Now, you might be thinking, okay, why swap into Celesteela against a Tapu Koko? Because I knew Tapu Koko would not use an Electric-type move against Landorus. And I knew, with Sableye on the field, it was going to be using Dazzling Gleam, which I knew Sableye would be able to live. Barely, but still lived. And I decided to go for Leer on my opponent's side so that because I knew that Celesteela could live at least one hit from the Tapu Koko. That being said, that I knew that was probably going to be a Z move hit, which I would not be able to live, so I decided to protect with Celesteela and just Leer another time with Sableye, because that Kartana is effectively a -2 attack, -2 defense. Shockingly enough, that Tapu Koko decides to go for Dazzling Gleam again, which I'm surprised by. I was kind of assuming that the Tapu Koko was going to be going for an Electric-type move, and Kartana goes for Tailwind. Here I was thinking to myself, oh no. I did not realize that, I suppose I didn't remember, because I believe I went through this once before, where Kartana apparently learns Tailwind. I did not remember that. So I decided to bring in Lopunny. That Kartana is not going to be able to do anything. So, and to my opponent's benefit, he does swap it out in favor of Landorus. However, I decided to Mega Evolve with my Lopunny, I believe, and use Fake Out on the Tapu Koko to avoid any Electric-type move shenanigans going towards my Celesteela. We see Lopunny Mega Evolving right now. Tapu Koko decides to protect. And I believe I went for a Heavy Slam into the Kartana. Yes, no, I did not. The Tapu Koko. Okay. I was going for the knockout on the Tapu Koko. Now, I specifically made this Lopunny so that it was barely faster than Tapu Koko, but I decided to swap out anyway, because I was assuming that the Landorus was probably going to Scarf Superpower me, or something. Not to mention bringing in my own Landorus gets an Intimidate off on my opponent's Landorus. And I decided to go for another Protect from Celesteela in case that Tapu Koko got any ideas, and it gets an idea. That idea being Electrium Z into the Celesteela slot. So I was well, actually, no. It actually went into the Landorus slot. It actually went into the Lopunny slot. So I was kind of surprised by that. And my opponent then decides to swap out the Tapu Koko in favor of Kartana once more. Now, Kartana is not really doing anything to begin with. Okay, so my opponent decides to use knockoff on my Landorus, which I thought was a questionable decision because it meant that I was locked into knockoff with the Scarf. So really getting rid of the Scarf was not really to my opponent's benefit. Sorry, Earthquake. I was locked into Earthquake, not knockoff. I don't know why I was thinking knockoff. But yeah, I was at that point locked into Earthquake, so I'm not sure why he would get rid of the Scarf. I'm assuming my opponent didn't. Well, my opponent, of course, doesn't have any other flyers other than Tapu Koko. And Kartana decides to go for a Leaf Blade, not really doing all that much. At this point, I'm sort of thinking to myself, you know what, I'm just going to let my Landorus die and just let it be. I decided to go for a Heavy Slam into Kartana because Landorus. Because I knew it would be get chipped down at least a little bit more, and next turn I would be able to get the knockout on the Landorus no matter what. And at that point, I also decided, I believe this turn I decided to go for a Heavy Slam into the Kartana slot. Because I knew it would either let Kartana get knocked out, or he would swap into the Tapu Koko and take a hit. Okay, my opponent's Landorus decides to go for Rock Slide. Pretty standard move there. I believe my opponent's Landorus is probably Jolly as well, because I believe we're at a speed tie here that I unfortunately lost that speed tie. So I went for a Heavy Slam into the Tapu Koko, get some nice leftovers recovery and some nice Leech Seed recovery off of the Landorus. And I believe here I decided to swap into Lopunny. Because I think at this stage in the game, my opponent either leaves Landorus in, gets knocked out, or swaps into the Kartana and gets knocked out, and my opponent decided to forfeit. Because I believe my opponent decided, okay, he's going to fake out my Tapu Koko, he's going to knock out the Landorus, get the special defense boost. He didn't know that I had a special defense boost, but he probably figured at that point that it was kind of over. Anyway, let's move on to the next battle. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you right now. Because remember last week where I showed Mimikyu Shuckle battle that only lasted one turn? We have a sequel. My opponent in this battle has a Shuckle and has a Mimikyu and led with it. Let's see what happens. Alright, I am up against an opponent whose name is Fede, I suppose. I don't know. I'm fed up with names I can't remember. Anyway, my opponent leads with Mimikyu and Shuckle, exactly what I expected. However, for some reason, I did not lead with Lopunny Celesteela. I believe... After this match ended, spoiler alert, I decided, okay, from here on out, whenever I see this, I'm going to just lead with Celesteela. Anyway, pretty standard start of this battle. Pretty much same thing happened as last time. I decided to fake out the Mimikyu to prevent the very obvious Trick Room. My opponent decided to protect with a Shuckle, I believe. I don't know, I kind of missed that. Anyway, I decided to... Okay, he did not protect the Shuckle. That's what's different from last time. Instead of protecting, my opponent decided to use Z Power Trick. Yep. Its attack is boosted because... And he decided to use Z Power Trick, making that 255 defense into almost nothing and changing it to its attack stat. Its attack stat is now a base of 255. Anyway, my opponent then decided to go for Trick Room again, and I unfortunately missed the Rock Slide, so there's no chance of flinch, so that is a guaranteed Trick Room. I was thinking to myself, oh no. This Shuckle is at +2, I think it was plus 2 or 3, and he's about to go for probably a Rock Slide. So I decided, okay, I'm going to swap out Lopunny. I need to conserve that for fake out in the future. My opponent uses Baby Doll Eyes on its own Shuckle to get the contrary stat boost. So this thing is at +4 now. And he gets a clean knockout on Landorus. No contest. Base 255 attack. It's just ridiculous. Thankfully, Celesteela dodged the attack. However, I'm kind of in a bad spot here. I decided to use Fake Out on the Shuckle, get lots of damage off now that it has almost 0 defense. And for some reason, I decided to go for a Heavy Slam into... no, I went for an Iron Defense for some reason to try and shave off a little bit of the damage from the next Rock Slide. Okay, I decided to swap out Lopunny once more, send in Naganadel as a bit of a sacrifice because I was thinking to myself, I need to conserve this Lopunny for another Fake Out because I'm pretty sure this Shuckle is just going to steamroll my team if I don't. Anyway, Celesteela is a boss and decides to dodge another rock slide, and sadly Naganadel doesn't, but honestly Naganadel didn't matter in this matchup anyway. And finally I use Heavy Slam on Shuckle, something I should have done in the first place. And that Shuckle is just gone. And I get that this is important. I get a special defense boost from the Beast Boost, and my opponent brings out Camerupt. I'm thinking to myself, that is a Mega Camerupt. Celesteela is not going to do well against Mega Camerupt. So what I decide to do is, of course, Mega Evolution on the Camerupt. That's a given. We're just waiting for that animation to end at this point. I decide to fake out the Camerupt, because that's just an easy play. Trick Room is about to end. So I think to myself, okay, I'm going to knock out this Mimikyu, get another special defense boost. That Baby Dill Eyes might have helped it a little bit, but there's no way Mimikyu surviving it at that health range. So now Celesteela is at +2 special defense. And finally the Trick Room goes down at that exact turn. And I'm thinking to myself, that is important. I need that. So at this point, I'm thinking to myself, Lopunny's kind of just collateral at this point. So I need to get Leech Seeds off. Gastrodon goes for the Earth Power on the Lopunny to try and get it, chip it down. It doesn't really matter. I knew the Camerupt was about to Heat Wave. If that Camerupt had Eruption, then I'm pretty sure that would have gotten a lot more damage on the Celesteela. I'm pretty sure Celesteela probably would have been knocked out at that point. Anyway, I decide to go for Protect to stall out the Leech Seed to get more Leech Seed recovery, so I am guaranteed to live another Heat Wave. Because Heat Wave single target does more damage, because most moves that do spread damage, do damage to both of your opponents, do less damage to each to sort of even things out, you know? Anyway, this next turn, I decided to go for a Leech Seed onto the Gastrodon, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I am playing a stall match right now. There is no way I will be able to win this in a straight up fight. I need to stall things out. Ice Beam from the Gastrodon freezes Celesteela. However, Camerupt goes for a Heat Wave, which immediately thaws out the Celesteela. So I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, that would have been terrible. Imagine if my opponent had actually planned for that and decided to just not go for a Heat Wave that turn. Okay, so at this point, I have Leech Seed on 2 of my opponent's Pokemon. And I'm thinking, okay, I can win this. I just need to protect this turn, and I'm pretty much good to go. I have enough healing to outpace the Heat Wave damage from my opponent's Camerupt. And it's all because I got the +2 special defense. If it wasn't for that, I would have lost this. Hands down. There's no way I would have been able to win this without that extra boost. And at this point, I believe, because, you know, at this point, it's only a matter of time that the Celesteela just outpaces everything. My opponent decides to just not forfeit for some reason. But, you know, that's fine. Heavy Slam out the Camerupt is about to bring it down. I believe my opponent at this point has some hope that... okay, the only real way my opponent would have won this is if he had gotten a crit with the Heat Wave. That's the only real way that would have happened. Or maybe the Ice Beam, an Ice Beam crit would have probably helped. If he had gotten a crit with either one of his Pokemon, it probably would have been just curtains for me there. But with this, I pretty much just protect and I win. And I believe my opponent forfeits here. There it is. Okay. Anyway, it was a pro tip to anyone that sees Shuckle or Mimikyu lead. Or sorry, if you see a Shuckle and Mimikyu in the same team preview, you need to prepare for the Mimikyu. Specifically. Because if that Mimikyu gets off that Trick Room, that Shuckle is going to steamroll your entire team. You need to either take out the Shuckle turn 1, or take out the Mimikyu before it's able to get up the Trick Room. If that Mimikyu gets up the Trick Room and that Shuckle is still alive and has the Power Trick off, It's just curtains. It's gonna steamroll your entire team. You need to hope. I got lucky this battle. My Celesteela was a boss and dodged 2 rock slides. That is the only reason that I won this. If it had not been for that, I would have lost. So just for like the 6 people that are watching this video, be careful of if you see a Mimikyu and Shuckle on Battle Spot. Alright? Anyway, thank you all for watching. Have a good day.